Today, we will start with a brand new topic cloud migration. Cloud migration refers to the process of moving an organization's data, applications, and workloads from on premises infrastructure or one cloud environment to another, typically a public cloud like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, or a multi cloud or hybrid environment. The primary goal of cloud migration is to leverage the benefits of cloud computing, such as scalability, flexibility, cost efficiency, and enhanced security among others. In this video, we will discuss about types of cloud migration, cost, challenges of migration, cloud busting, migration factory, change management, application availability, migration framework, migration tools, and microservices. So the first question is, what are the different types of cloud migration strategies? That means we want to discuss different type of migration strategies that we adopt when we move the database, the infrastructure, or the application to cloud. So here are the types of migration. Rehosting, that is called lift and shift. So what does it mean? It means we have the application and we just move the application as it is. We lift the application and shift it to the cloud. Replatforming. So we have the application, we put it in a cloud platform. Refactoring. So we take the application and refactor it and put it in cloud. Then there is re-architecting and rebuilding. Re-architecting, as its name suggests, we will architect it in a different way. And last one is rebuilding, and in bracket you see it is mentioned as cloud native. That means it is native in cloud, it is built in cloud. So basically, in other words, that means it is developed in cloud itself. So the question number two is, what is refactoring in cloud migration? We were discussing refactoring in the first question. Now it is going deeper in the second question. Refactoring means modifying existing application to optimize them for cloud environment. So we have an application which is on-prem. On-prem means on-premises. We take that application, we optimize that application for putting it in cloud environment. Question number three is, what are the common challenges in cloud migration? Data migration, security concerns, cost management, and application capability. So the essence of the questions is, when you are putting one application or migrating one application from on-prem to cloud, what are the different challenges that you face? So you face challenges when moving the data. You have a huge amount of data and you need to migrate it to cloud. So that can be a challenge if the amount of data is very high. Security concerns, yes, of course. We are always talking about public cloud, right? So AWS, Azure, or GCP. Now, it says public cloud, but there is absolutely no security concern. But we have to take care of those security. So, of course, some application was there in on as an on-premises application, and it's quite natural that when we are moving it to cloud environment, those who are owning those applications, who are owning those data, they are concerned about the data protection, about the security of the data, security of the application, hmm, when it moves to cloud. So that's what we are talking about. Cost management, yes. So we are moving to cloud, and one of the major criteria here is cost. Of course, we are concerned about cost, so this is quite natural. And application compatibility. So earlier it was on prem, and it is moving to a new environment. Naturally, people will be thinking whether in the new setup, in the new environment, this application is compatible or not. Whether once it is moved to cloud, whether we can use this application, what are the challenges that we will face in terms of compatibility, those things will come into mind. How do you calculate the total cost of ownership for the cloud migration? So TCO tells about the total cost of ownership. When you move something to cloud, the expenditure that is incurred, the cost that is incurred, that is called total cost of ownership. So multiple cost that is incurred during this migration and after migration, hosting the application. How is it calculated? TCO include cost like hardware, software maintenance, and employee effort. Okay, so this specific question is nothing special. It would have been a common sense to understand about that, that we need to pay for hardware, software, um, and the employee effort that is involved here. It's natural. Fifth question is, what is data sovereignty and how does it affect cloud migration? The meaning is quite self-explanatory. Data sovereignty refers to where data is stored and can impact cloud decisions due to legal and compliance issues. Whenever data is moved to cloud, this data sovereignty is one of the concern of the owner, of the organization owner, the stakeholder. So they want to make sure that the data is stored in a secured manner, and it is so important that it can single-handedly impact cloud decision because it has legal and compliance issues. If it is not stored in a safe manner, if it is stolen, if it gets leaked, the entire business is at stake, right? So of course the owner is aptly concerned about this. Also, compliance. Compliance is one of the major concern for the industry, and any kind of non-compliance cost huge for the industry. Maybe at the employee level or maybe in a micro level, it might be difficult to understand, but it does impact. And there are enough number of cases which will prove this. So sovereignty is important. What is cloud migration framework? So for cloud migration, there's a framework also. What is that? A framework provides a structured approach to planning and executing cloud migration. Cloud migration is a very important decision. It is a significant milestone activity for any organization. So it is quite natural that it will not be done just like that, right? So it has to be planned in a certain way, and there is a framework that is followed which guides this entire activity. A framework provides a structured approach to planning and execution. So it is planned in a certain way and executed following the plan. And the framework that guides that is called the cloud migration framework. How can you optimize cost in the cloud after migration? Use cost monitoring tools, right size resources, and leverage reserved instance. So it is quite self-explanatory and quite obvious. Once we want to control the cost, we need to have a monitoring in place, and for that we need monitoring tools. The resources, for example, if we need virtual machines of certain size, we have to predict that, we have to calculate that, and monitor that it is enough for us. We should not use oversize so that we we waste that, or we should not use an undersized tool. Like for example, we should have this particular machine should have correct amount of RAM, correct amount of memory, so that it is able to host the data optimally. What is cloud busting and how does it relate to migration? Now we come across a keyword, cloud busting. It's a lingo in cloud migration, so we'll understand what is that. Cloud busting involves using the cloud during peak demand periods, which may require migration of certain workloads. So during cloud peak demand, we will require migration of certain workloads in the sense, what when we say workload, it is a typical term that is used in cloud. Okay, so the question may come: what is workloads? Workloads is, as its name suggests, it will be some work, right? And what work is done by the cloud machines? Several operation, web batch jobs, etc. So the task that is it is doing. So the virtual computer, the virtual machines that we have in the cloud, they are doing certain tasks, right? Tasks, operation, jobs. Those are workloads. So question number 8 is: what is a cloud migration factory? Okay, let's see what is a cloud migration factory. A cloud migration factory is a systematic approach to migrate multiple applications. For example, if you talk about a car factory, right, it produces car in bulk. So when we say migration factory, it does migration for multiple application at bulk, right? Question number 9: how can you minimize downtime during cloud migration? Use strategies like blue-green deployments, phased migration, and data synchronization. There's a specific kind of deployment that is called blue-green deployment. We'll understand it later in detail, but this is like two production environment. One is marked as blue and the other is green. So when one environment is up, the other is down. When there is a production work for a particular environment, the other environment is running. So we need not wait for production environment to be up. Use strategies like blue green deployment, phased migration, and data synchronization. Phased migration is we do migration in phases. So we do phase one, phase two. In phase one, we migrate certain part of the application. Then phase two, we migrate certain part, like that. And data synchronization. So after this migration, we synchronize the data. What are the risks associated with cloud migration? So whenever we are doing cloud migration, what are the risks we should take care of? We should be able to predict the risk so that we can take appropriate action beforehand. So there can be data loss. During migration, there is a risk of data loss. Application downtime and unexpected cost are some of the risks. Application downtime, so when we are doing the migration, we are not able to keep the production line up. So that can be a risk. Unexpected cost, since we are not familiar with the pay as you go model, so maybe sometimes we underutilize some particular resource, or we are not able to estimate how much resource we will require. So these kind of costs are there. Question number 11: how can you handle legacy application during migration? So there will be a set of legacy application in every environment, in every project, right? So how do we handle those? Legacy applications may require refactoring or rehosting to function in the cloud. For the legacy application, we need to sometimes refactor it to optimize the performance, etc., and rehost to functions in the cloud. Question number 12: what is cloud migration playbook? A playbook outlines migration steps, dependencies, and best practices for an organization. So it will outline the steps for the migration, and it will tell these are the dependencies that you have for migration, so that we can think of that beforehand and we can take appropriate action. Best practices for organization. So to make the migration most effective, what are the steps we should follow? Those are there in the playbook. Question number 13: how do you handle data transfer bottlenecks during migration? Use data compression. You can compress the data to save space. Data optimization, you can optimize the data. And parallel processing to mitigate the bottlenecks. So you can run this parallel processing to make it faster, right? You have a huge amount of data and you can move those data faster. What is a cloud migration communication plan? During cloud migration, your production is impacted, right? So there is an impact on the normal production activity. For that, you need to have a communication plan. A communication plan outlines how to keep stakeholders informed throughout the migration process. So there are multiple stakeholders in the migration process. When we say stakeholders, that means it can be stakeholders from internal to the organization, can be outside. Like for example, stakeholders can be client which are outside or outside your organization. So they need to get informed that you are doing a migration. There can be this kind of interruption. What are the things they should be prepared for? And also inside your organization, your peers, your subordinates, your managers, or the all the teams, those who are working with you parallelly, they should be aware. They are also stakeholders, right? So they also should be aware what are you doing, what are your plans during migration process. And this entire thing is controlled by communication plan. That is what we are talking about. Question number 15: what is the role of change management in cloud migration? So in cloud migration, we are talking about change. Till now, we knew that if there's a change in production, we need to follow a change management. Cloud migration, of course, is a change in production. It's a major change in production. So there must be change management. Change management helps employees adapt to new cloud-based workflows and process. So change management is a detailed topic. There are multiple steps in change management. But in summary, we can say that if we follow proper change management, the employees, or we were talking about stakeholders, right? Stakeholders can adapt to new cloud-based workflow because they have been communicated, they have been informed. Now they are quite familiar with the new way of working. and it is not a shocker for them, right? Question number 16. What is the role of DevOps in cloud migration? DevOps practices can accelerate migration and improve application deployment in the cloud. Question number 17. What are some common cloud migration tools? This question is quite important because when we are talking about migration, obviously the immediate query that is coming to the interviewer's mind or whoever is participating in migration with you is what are the common tools or common um, applications that we'll be using during migration. So whenever we say tools, tools may be a software that helps you or anything that assists you during the migration process. So tools like AWS Migration Hub, Azure Migrate, Google Clouds Migrate for Compute Engine assist in migration task. So these are the softwares that assist you in these three cloud environment, these three cloud brands to migrate your workload to cloud. Question number 19. What is cloud native development? Yes. So at the beginning we were discussing, right, different type of cloud environment, right? So here we got cloud native development. Cloud native development is an approach to software development that leverages cloud computing and principles to build and deploy applications that are scalable, resilient, and maintainable. So basically, cloud native, this word itself tells that software is cloud native, means it is developed in the cloud itself, okay, with that environment. And quite naturally, software development that leverages cloud computing means the same, and principles to build and deploy applications that are scalable, resilient, maintainable. These things are the features of the cloud computing. So naturally, the product, the software that is developed in a cloud environment will have these features, right? Okay, so let's go to the next question. Question number 20. What are the core principles of cloud native development? Core principles include microservices architecture. So for a cloud native development, it has to be developed in microservices architecture. Containerization, what is containerization, we'll learn later, but for the time being we can assume that it is a approach for this cloud native development which has certain benefits which we can leverage. What are those benefits, we'll discuss. Automation, continuous integration, continuous deployment. This continuous integration and continuous deployment is called CI/CD and DevOps practices. So all these principles, those are inherent in the cloud native development. Each of these principles are one topic by itself which we will discuss later, but for the time being it is just mentioned here so as to make you familiar about the things that are going on when we do cloud native development. Question number 21. What is microservices architecture in cloud native development? Yes, now we were discussing, right, microservices architecture. Now here we got. Microservices is an architectural style where applications are composed of small, independently deployable services that communicate through APIs. Yes. So here we earlier we saw services, right? So in a monolithic structure, we used services. Now those services are splitted into small parts, so that's why the name is called microservices. So microservice is small, independently deployed, and that is the essence of it. So each services are very small, and those are self-sufficient. That's why those are independently deployable service, and those services communicate through API. Of course, this is not enough to explain. With this, we come to the end of the video. In this small video, we just touched upon multiple topics. We will elaborate each topic in the coming videos. Please subscribe the video and hit the bell icon to get notification for the upcoming videos. In case you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share it because it helps to promote this video to reach more people who can get benefited out of it. I would eagerly wait for your comment, even if it is simple hi, because that encourages me to make more videos like this. Take very good care of yourself. Stay healthy, stay safe. Goodbye for now.